Hey everybody, how's it going? Extreme Trends here. Breaking a world record has become something for the overachievers in life to aim for. If you've got a talent for something obscure, then there's no better way to show it off than to try and break a world record. Since the launch of the Guinness World Records back in 1955, people have gone above and beyond to prove that they are the best in their field. However, it doesn't always go quite to plan. So let's take a look at 10 world records that went horribly wrong. Number 10, 1986 Bloomfest. If you haven't guessed already, this has got to do with a lot of balloons, specifically 1.5 million of them. Volunteers in Cleveland, Ohio were attempting to raise money for charity by inflating helium balloons in the town square ready to be released. A host of people sat at the tables underneath a giant net dome, inflating hot air balloons and releasing them into the air. The net was designed to hold them in place until the big release to set them all into the air, but sadly no one decided to check the weather forecast that day. When the weather turned nasty, the net started to move the giant mass of inflatables, so the decision was made for the balloons to be released early. However, unfortunately, it didn't go as they planned. Rather than flying off and spreading far and wide all over the state and beyond as a big accomplishment, the balloons wreaked absolute havoc, descending back into the city, all over the harbor and even the airport, causing absolute chaos with transport systems and basically making a giant mess that took a lot of time and effort and money to clean up. Not only that, but because the weather blew so many balloons into the sea, unfortunately lifeguards couldn't save 2 drowning citizens, so they ended up drowning. Such an unfortunate ending. Number 9, world record car jump attempt. Back in 2014, skier and rally car driver Grulian Chicherit attempted to beat the world record for the biggest car jump. Jumping a car from any distance is absolutely terrifying. We all know that cars crashing at high speeds is dangerous enough, but if you factor in a giant leap, then the force of impact is significantly heightened. Months of planning and years of experience doesn't guarantee a smooth run, no matter how many times you practice. On the day, Chicherit reached speeds of 130 miles per hour down a snow-covered hill, up a ramp and planned to reach the other side some distance away. Unfortunately, he fell just short of it and the nose of the car crashed straight down in a horrific crash after just reaching the other side. The car rolled several times and was completely destroyed. You can hear Chicherit's wife crying in the background, but amazingly he escaped with only minor cuts and bruises thanks to the support bar and rigorous safety training. The huge crash didn't deter the sportsman though, because he vowed to try it again. Number 8, death-defying downhill cycle. Cycling downhill can be pretty scary at the best of times, but factor in trying to break a world record and you've got something most of us would run away from. French sportsman Eric Baron currently holds the world speed title for the bicycle, but it wasn't quite the clean victory he had hoped for. This was an event that the cyclist had planned for miraculously over the course of months, even designing a bike built to stand such high speeds. In theory, everything was right, but as we all know, what starts out right can often end wrong. During his test run, Eric reached speeds of 83 miles per hour, so when he broke 107 miles per hour during his attempt, his team were ecstatic. Everything seemed to have gone well up until the end of the run, when Eric's specifically built bike breaks shockingly and snaps in two, sending the unknowing record holder catapulting into the air. Thankfully, he survived, but he walked away with 5 broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder. While technically this was a successful attempt, it came as a very big price. Number 7, a ponytail zipline. As we've seen, not all daredevils come out unscathed from their attempts. Unfortunately for Sailendra Nath Roy, his try cost him his life. Roy was no amateur either, having pulled a train and 4 cars with his ponytail alone a couple years previously. It seemed like his try at breaking the world record for crossing a zipline by his hair would be a walk in the park. After all, he was the previous title holder for having crossed the Nimrata fort in India 2 years before. A large crowd turned out to watch the local celebrity smash his latest foray in the world record books. Adults and children gathered to wonder, cheering him on. It seemed like it was going to be another swooping victory. However, no one could be prepared for the horror they were about to witness. About halfway across the zip line, Roy began to struggle, but spectators couldn't understand what he was saying as he shouted out. With no safety officials on site or any official staff at all, the stuntman was pretty much helpless. His ponytail had become caught in the wheel failure of the rope, and despite trying to free himself, the stuntman suffered a massive cardiac arrest and unfortunately passed away. They managed to reel him in and take him to the hospital, but he was hanging there for more than an hour and a half, which caused him massive distress. Number 6, Plane Knockout. It looks like a silent movie, doesn't it? Something that can't possibly be real. But if you're looking for Charlie Chaplin, I'm sorry to disappoint you. This is no comedy. What you're actually looking at is the final moments of pilot Lowell Bells as he prepares and tries to break the land plane speed record in the GB Model Z in 1931. Bales was an avid flying enthusiast and had tried to break the official 3-kilometer lane plan speed record at the 1931 National Air Races. Although he failed, he was desperate to try again. In December of last year, he attempted again, and technically, he succeeded, but because he wasn't more than 4.97 over the current record, he failed to clinch the title. While third time is lucky for some, it wasn't for Bales, and 4 days later, he unfortunately passed away trying. Despite reaching speeds of 300 miles per hour, the fuel cap came loose, shooting through the windshield and incapacitating Bales, resulting in a crash landing. The plane exploded in a ball of fire as it hit the ground, and the pilot's body was thrown more than 300 feet from the wreckage. Number 5, Space Freefall. Let's face it, you have to be pretty nuts to put your life on the line just to break a world record. You don't have to be a professional either, just like truck driver Nick from New Jersey in 1966. In a bizarre series of events, the Union City native managed to get together some equipment and enough sponsorship money to try and break the world freefall record with a jump of 123,800 feet. Nick managed to get up to 56,000 feet before something went wrong, and ground control were forced to open his parachute early, sending him back down to earth. He survived, but then passed away from his injuries 4 months later, leaving behind a young family. It's good to dream big, but if you're wanting to be an astronaut, it's probably best to get the proper training. Number 4, Group Skydiving Tragedy. Skydiving is a risky business. You rely totally on equipment to keep you from plummeting to the ground, and when it lets you down, well, it really lets you down. During an attempt to break the world record for the biggest jump formations in Arizona back in 2014, one experienced skydiver unfortunately plummeted to the ground after their main parachute failed to open. The footage from the event is pretty spectacular. For starters, you wonder how there weren't more accidents. Surely all of those planes and all of those parachutes are just an accident waiting to happen. Despite there being over 222 veteran skydivers all over the world attending the event, this was the third death in 4 months stemming from an attempt to break the world record. Let's hope they don't try this again. Number 3, Around the World in 30 Days. It sounds like an inviting prospect, doesn't it? Traveling all around the world in your own private jet. But it's not quite as glamorous when it's just you and your dad in a single engine plane. For a start, there's no first class and there is very little room for error. Barbara Sulman and his 17-year-old son Harris knew that what they were attempting wasn't easy, with Barbara writing in his log that he had made sure that he had enough provisions if they needed to ditch. He openly admitted in his entries that it was a strong possibility it might not happen, but his desire to beat the world record overcame him. Sadly, their provisions weren't enough to save them. While the first leg of the trip seemed to go to plan, shortly after their takeoff from America Samoa on July the 30th, 2014, the small plane went down. Harris was found still in his seat near the wreckage. He didn't make it. Despite efforts, his father's body was never recovered. A sad end to a father and son trip, which no one really knows what happened to cause the tragedy. Number 2, 17-story parkour. The craze of jumping from building to building with no safety equipment is steadily growing in popularity in urban areas. Although it's best reserved for training professionals in Bond films, this doesn't stop amateurs thinking they can give it a go. In 2012, one 24-year-old girl climbed to the rooftops of St. Petersburg in Russia with her sister and 2 experienced parkours. When the professionals did a jump, the girls were asked to do it too. While her sister refused, the younger woman ran, jumped, and unfortunately missed the ledge and fell 17 stories to the ground. The men quickly fled the scene and no one broke any records here, but they broke everything else. Number 1, scuba dive fail. They say that we have only discovered 5% of the ocean to date, so it's no wonder that deep sea explorers want to push the envelope and go where no one else have gone before. The issue is they don't always come back. Dr. Guy Garman attempted to break the deep sea diving record, wanting to reach a depth of 1,200 feet. While everything went to plan initially, Garman didn't re-emerge from his depth. He vanished in the murky waters of the US Virgin Island and was never seen again. Who knows what kind of creatures he encountered down there, or if it was an unavoidable technical glitch. We'll never know. So that has been the top 10 world records gone horribly wrong. If you did enjoy the video or found it interesting, then why not go check out one of our other videos by clicking a video on screen now. Before you do that though, as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you do not miss a single upload. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you in the next video.